I actually think, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think, that we are too soft as men.
Oh,
And the pendulum has swung so much into this emotional intelligence and all this bullshit that we actually need some fucking hard men. We need some toxic masculinity. That's my
well,
two. I don't think we need Andrew
so
Tate,
No.
but I think we
that's
need some of those tenets.
so that no, that's exactly what we were talking. That's
Forgive
what
me.
we've talked about is like these traits that they're saying are toxic in men, like competitiveness and shit. I'll have to go back to that.
Greed.
Well, that, but like
Greed,
there was
yeah.
but there was a lot of things. I'm like, that's not toxic. Like those aren't things that are toxic that are being labeled as toxic. So we need to clear that up right now. That's not toxic. That's just that's being a strong man. But I also do think that the emotional side of things, not so much like having the emotional intelligence to realize like, hey, something's wrong, and being able to admit that and work on that. Not just
Do you
being.
think that should be external or internal?
I mean, it's an internal battle that you're having, but it's okay to voice it. It's okay to talk about it.
That's where I disagree.
See, that's the thing is like we're as like the way I was raised was like you're not supposed to have any emotions as a guy. You're not supposed to have those feelings, but that's not true. You're still going to have them, and they're going to be bottled up inside you. And if you don't know how to regulate those, yeah, you need to regulate those as on the inside as for yourself, so you can be better moving forward. But it's not terrible to talk about them with someone else. I mean, I like therapy. I go to therapy. Like therapy is something that's changed my life. To being able to talk to somebody about these things and work through things with somebody else. And I'm just being a vessel, using this as a vessel for me also to talk about the things that I'm working on. So people don't realize like, hey, you're not alone in this. It's okay to have those feelings, have those emotions, but work on them. Doesn't mean you have to be vocal and tell every single person about them. But I do think that one of the questions that we posed was, would you rather have an IQ or an EQ, a high IQ or a high EQ? And I said, you can have a high IQ and a low EQ, but you can't have a low EQ and a high IQ, or a high. You can't have a high EQ and a low IQ. You have to have both. And so I would say that having a high emotional intelligence leads to higher intelligence, which as a man, that's what we're striving for is intelligence. We want to be intelligent. Women find that attractive. And so I think having that high emotional intelligence leads to a high intelligence. And I just think that knowing those emotions, being able to feel those emotions, being able to understand those, like I said, it doesn't mean you have to talk about it. I just talk about it on here just because this is a vessel to reach other people. And so that's why I talk about it. Doesn't mean everyone else has to talk about it. Doesn't mean you have to talk about it. Doesn't mean Zach has to talk about it. Doesn't mean we have to have conversations about how we're feeling. But just know that I'm doing it as a way to like let people know, like, hey, it's okay to.
I agree and disagree. I agree with 98% of what you said.
Okay.
And only because you extrapolated that thought and you actually build bridges between you and I. I agree with the emotional intelligence side. I don't want to go back to a masculinity where it's like, suck it up, pussy, nothing matters,
Right.
work and die. I don't want to do that. But I also want to embrace the fact that men are loved on the basis of what they can do.
Oh, absolutely.
Both protector and provider, because I
100%.
benefit from that. 100%
Yeah.
I benefit
Oh,
from that.
and that's the thing too, is like I 100% agree with you on that. Now, if I didn't make that clear in what I was saying, no, I think we're probably on the same page 100% because I 100% agree with that. Like man, as a man, that's your role as provider and protector.
Well, let me go a step further though. Like, because you're talking about like I think there is one person on this planet that I can truly speak freely with, and that's my wife.
Right.
Even then, I can't speak 100% true.
You don't
There's
think so?
no one on this planet other than God when I pray that I can speak 100% true to and explain.
Okay.
Even in my abundant confidence, even in my, I'm a douchebag to the core, brother. Even when I was little, you know what I mean?
I'm with you.
I've only grown more empathetic with age because
Yeah.
of the wisdom of time. I have my doubts. I have my moments of weakness. But if, your boss ever came in and started talking about all the things that are on his or her plate and started like extrapolating to you all their doubts and all that stuff, you started thinking to yourself, like, man, this girl's shouldn't be in a leadership position. The same way I look at a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, the same way I look at an entrepreneur starting sole proprietorship is the same way I look at a father at home. I tell my wife 85% to 90% of things, but 10% I tell her, I don't fucking tell her. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
You don't need to know. keeps me up at night because I'm working on that limiting itself. When I was 18 years old, I remember I used to stay up at night thinking, I don't want to be a loser. I want to make enough money to sustain myself. I want a wife and kids and all this other stuff. Now I have all everything that 18-year-old Erion used to stay up at night wondering about is done, and then some.
Right. And it changes. Everything that you're going through will evolve and change.
But staying up at night hasn't.
Right.
32-year-old Erion stays up just as much as 18-year-old Erion does, but on different fucking shit. Different shit. Different levels of shit. And now I have the responsibility of everything. All my employees, my employers. I think that emotional intelligence was a vector that was missing from our previous generation. But in that pursuit, we swung the pendulum too far.
Absolutely.
Yes.
100%.
We need a little bit of more toxic masculinity to get to that.
See, but that's the thing is like things that you're saying is toxic masculinity. I don't think those are toxic. Like those, I don't think those things
like
are
society deems them as
right,
toxic.
society
but
Ask a feminist.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but
Ask a feminist.
You're right. A feminist is going, but in general, most people aren't going to like. I don't feel like those are toxic.
That's a loaded
Well,
term.
yes.
Most people.
Yeah.
Who's most people?
That's true.
You feel me? Because we're on our own echo chambers. Maybe the most people within our group.
Right.
I guarantee when you go to jiu-jitsu, most people.
Right.
When you're at a business dinner or something, most people. What happens when you're at like a public function or something? Bro, I've been surprised at my surroundings at times when I say things. I'm like, oh, what? You don't view this the same way I do? And they're like, this, that, or the other. And I don't have the fucking time to educate them on what they're wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Nor do I
can't
have
change everybody.
the inclination. But I like the message, but I also want to iterate one thing that is toxic masculinity personified. The progression of humanity was led by men, supported by women. If we change that paradigm now more than ever, get ready for destruction. Get ready for destruction. The rest of the world is still, I'll say, fuck it. You can cut this out if you want. If you're a black man or black woman, your life has never been better in America ever before in human history. If you're a woman in America, your life has never been better than ever before in human history. If you're if you are not a white Anglo-Saxon man from the mountains, if you're a Eurasian Peninsula man like myself or from the Caucasus Mountains, better hope that you're, some Irish descent, because then your life has never been better than it is today. If America didn't exist, I'd be like some sheep herder, a hashish farmer in the mountains of Albania. The reason I say that is we have, for the last 4 years, gone down this path of self-destruction, not at the betterment of everybody else, but at the destruction of masculinity, manhood as it is. You can have both the empowerment of women, the empowerment of minorities, the empowerment of everybody. Do not lose sight of the ones who allow for that empowerment. It is men. In conjunction with women, I am a better man because of my wife. But I don't want to live in a world where my wife is ruling my house, making those decisions. She makes 95% of the decisions in the house. 95% of them. The 5 that I make are like the trajectory of our lineage. If I fuck this up, our kids will feel this. You were asking me off camera about my immigration status and all this other stuff. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again because I think it rings true. My parents were lower middle class to poor the entirety of my childhood. They made one decision that fundamentally changed the trajectory. My daughter benefits from the decision that my father made. And that was to come to America. They could have stayed in Albania. They could have lived the life that they had. But my father led my mother, because my mother wanted to say, like, hey, we know this. Like, my father led my mother, took the chance, took the risk, shouldered that burden, that responsibility. Came to America, didn't know a fucking lick of English. Did it legally, by the way, by year 5. We fled to Greece, came over after we got our green card and our papers. Lived in America for the entirety of our life. They know nothing. My mother only knew struggle and poverty and trying to make it until the day she died. My father gets to bear the fruits of that decision because my father lived. My mother, unfortunately, passed away. But my father has like I can only imagine the pride my father has as a man to make a decision 31 years ago, and to see now your sons and what they're creating. Because like whatever you think of me, gentlemen, I got a brother who's older, 3.5 years. Take me, times it by 10. intelligence, wealth, entrepreneurial spirit. He's just better than me in every way, other than looks.
Can you
And I
beat him
think
up?
to myself sometimes when, because like we'll be at dinner, like all these things I said about toxic masculinity, stuff like that, my father personifies. But now at 62 years old, we'll go to dinner and he'll just like randomly cry. I'll be like, Dad, what's going on? He's like, just so proud. I'm just so happy. And it wasn't until I had my daughter that I fucking realized. And that's why I say like all men should have kids, is because you start going from making decisions about yourself. And by the way, toxic masculine decisions. I want to fuck. I want to eat. I want to drink. I want to do all these things. You start making decisions for the greater good of my family, my children, of their lives. Now everything I do, my needs are met. I'm sure you guys are doing fine. So now you're at this esteemed, like, you are experiencing something that 99.9% of humans that have ever existed have never experienced, and that's the option of thriving, not just surviving. Do with that the due diligence it fucking deserves. Stop letting other people who don't know dick about shit talk to you about what it's like to have that responsibility. I'm not here for that fucking conversation. Do not tell me you're not like me how to be like me. Just like I don't go to black women and tell them how to be black women. I don't go to Asian men and tell them how to be Asian men. Don't fucking tell me how to be a white man. Go fuck yourself. I'm going to walk that path. And if I'm wealthy for it, you know what you should do instead of demonizing me? Start looking at what I'm doing. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. Learn it.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Yeah.
On that.
No, I love all
Yeah,
that.
no,
I
I
agree
think
with
it's-
everything
I
you
went
down
said.
the path.
No, it's
and
good.
that's the thing is like I just think I think we think that feel the same way. I think just the way that we're saying it is different. And you know, and 100% like as a man, you're leading your household and having been single for now 2.5 years and entering the dating world, that's what most women want is a man that's making decisions and is financially responsible and taking charge. They want that. And it's just an innate emotion that they have.
Can I
And-
ask you a personal question?
Sure.
You don't have to answer this.
Okay.
Why did it not work out with this woman? What was it that caused that? Was it the way you thought? Was it the direction of life? Did you?
So with my ex-wife,
Yes.
so we went. So everything just happened so quickly. So my ex-wife is Bosnian, so similar story to you.
Geographically, we're
yeah.
neighbors.
Yeah, coming to America and all that. So, but fundamentally, we were both different in her thoughts and my thoughts, and in terms of, just political views. That was a big thing that we got into a lot of arguments about. Was political views, but everything happened so quick. Like we were only dating for 3 months, and then she got pregnant with my son, and then from there, getting engaged and getting married, and then another.
Did you guys do that because of the pregnancy?
Yes, and that was part of it. Like we confused infatuation for love, and we never dated. We never really connected. We just thought like, yeah, we'll figure it out as we go, and it just never happened. And we just started going our separate ways, and then eventually it just got to a point where we were roommates in raising kids. I mean, so
Was there ever a conversation had like, feel this slipping? What can we do to sustain this? Or was it like neither of you wanted to try to remedy this?
we had conversations about it, and we're like, all right, how are we going to fix this? How do we move forward from here? And we would go at it for like 2 weeks, and all of a sudden it would just slip back into the normal form, and then that was that. And so we decided to get separated to see how that would work, and then she met someone else, fell in love, and that was that. And you know, and honestly, it was like a weight was lifted off our shoulders. Like it got to the point where things were just really bad between us, where we were fighting all the time, saying things that we shouldn't be saying to each other, and it just got really bad. And we didn't want our kids to see that. I didn't want my 2 sons to think this is how their father should be treated, and I didn't want them to think like, hey, this is how you treat your wife. You need to see you need a better example of that. So we separated, and her and I have a better relationship now than we ever did when we were married. And her boyfriend is incredible. I think he's a great guy. He is amazing with my kids, and he loves my ex-wife more than I ever did. And she loves him more than she ever loved me. And I'm fine with that because now they're getting to see a really good example of what a relationship should look like on their end. They're still getting to see have a relationship with me. We've custody wise, so they get that relationship, and now they get to see a healthy relationship between me and my ex-wife. Hell, so healthy that I'm driving in a car with my ex-wife's boyfriend to Florida for Christmas, and she's flying with our 2 kids and going to my parents' house in Florida for Christmas, and we're going to spend a week together in Christmas. We've done this multiple times. Like, that's just the dynamic and where we've come and where we were at. It's just we were 2 people that should not have gotten married.
This is a paradigm where I think the toxic masculinity does die. Because tell the previous generation, like, I'm driving my ex-wife's boyfriend in Florida, and they'll start saying all the derogatory things you can say.
No, I get it all the time.
But one of the things that the previous generation did is they stuck together. They shouldn't.
Right.
You have a generation. I don't want to say a generation. Forgive me. You have a slew of people
Right.
that had to grow up in an environment that was not conducive to their general well-being and mental growth. And that's the relationship they see. So, like, boys think that's how you treat a woman. And
Right.
women think that's appropriate to be treated. That is an aspect. When I said 98%, I do think that there's room for. Jordan Peterson had a quote about peacefulness, how you need the propensity for violence in order to be peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
I think masculinity is toxic masculinity in order to be masculine, because you need to know to also back. I need to be the pillar of my family. I need to be the protector, the provider, and all these other things. If at any point that I fall short of that duty, I need to be self-aware and step back.
Yeah.
I cannot lead this properly. I'm not leading properly.
Right.
I'm not saying that this is like a leadership thing. It could also just be you want to go a different direction than I do. Like I said at the beginning, I was lucky enough to find a woman like fell in line, believed in me, back to me, and we benefited from that. But at any time, she could have been like, no. I would have said, yes. Now you're going left and I'm going right. Is that good or bad? No, it just is.
I guess my biggest thing is just like the term toxic masculinity. It's like
Subjective.
right, and it's going to be different to everybody. So it's just like, let's just get rid of the word fucking toxic and call it masculinity.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being masculine, but
I think feminism and I think femininity and masculinity are, you can get to a point in all things in life, also the roles, like the gender roles, where it's just too much. You see it politically, you see it economically, you see it in every other aspect of life. I think just like we just like we try to adapt our lives in our various ways to give a little bit, get a little bit. I think that's what masculinity needs to be. The only reason I was like so fervent in that initial thought, and I do believe that we see eye to eye on these
Yeah.
things for sure, is that for the last 4 years, we've been attacked.
oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
One-sided, pushing us towards a direction of femininity that we need an initiative of, like, maybe a little too much. Not forever. If it was 4 years, 6 years that we've been attacked, maybe 3 years. Swing that pendulum a little bit too much to get back to that equilibrium. I worry about a gender of men. Sorry, not a gender. Generation of men in high school, in college, that grew up under the last 4 years, don't know how to fucking be men. And that is going to be ripple effects, not just for us.
No, but generations ago.
No, for women. Because who do women want?
Mm.
Put 10 women behind a closed door and be like, what kind of man do you want? I want a leader, a provider. I want him to fuck my brains out. I want him to make a lot of fucking money.
That's what my last 2.5 years of dating's been like.
Yeah, so it's like all these women that are saying like all this shit that they quote unquote want, they're the single ones. Ask a married woman. That's why married women came out for, I don't want to get political, but every demographic, Trump did better this time around than last time around, with the exception of black women. Married women were more for Trump this time around than last time around, after 4 years. Why do you think that is? Because married women are in close proximity to the responsibilities and the leadership potentials of a man. They want to make sure that their man is not inhibited by other things other than his choices. They're closer to that. Women don't have the they don't have the repercussions for actions the way men do, that we inherently had since birth, because they're women. And I don't think they should, personally. I want to protect and provide for my wife. I don't want her to feel like she needs to get drafted. She needs to earn as much as me, or she needs to work as much as me. I don't want her to do that. I want her to have the luxuries that she has. That's what I work hard for. And I think that
Boys, we're about to camera's about to die.
All right.
We're gonna have to wrap it up. I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine.
Gentlemen,
No, this was incredible. Thank you so much, Erion.
Yeah,
this was a lot of
We had
fun.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to have you on because there's a lot of stuff I didn't even get to that I wanted to.
Yeah. And
So
so one
Matt,
last.
you gotta hop on mine if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I'd love to have
we
you.
can